Hey everyone, so where have I been? Good question, where have I been? I've been everywhere this summer. I've been a little bit of everywhere. Basically, it's been one hell of an adventure. So, summer for me started when I fell at work, I had a seizure, and I hit my head, breaking it open, and bleeding all over the floor, and vomiting too. While I was doing that, unconscious on the floor, customers were lining up, looking over the side of the till, waiting for me to stand back up and serve them. I was only noticed by the IT, God bless his soul, and that's when I was taken to be medicated. But yeah, that's how my summer started, and since then I had 5 hospital visits. The first one where I was medically neglected. They wouldn't check for concussion. They wouldn't check the actual status of my brain. Instead, they just gave me medicine, glued my head up, and sent me on my way. Then I had to go back another 2 times because, unbeknownst to me, I was very concussed, very, very concussed, and it was changing how I was perceiving my own body because of the brain impacts. We only found that out on the 5th visit. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th visits all were stemming to my mental health after the incident. The first one, where they put me off again and again and again until I stormed out, because from about 5 o'clock in the morning, my entire day had been completely wasted on waiting. Then the second one, I was given a drug called fluoxetine, which kept me awake for 72 consecutive hours, and in those hours, or after those hours I should say, I started to threaten to attack people because I'd had so little sleep and the drug was affecting my mood in a very negative way. And then the final one is where I was finally referred to psychiatry. I've had a very good experience overall with the community mental health until last week, where I saw a psychiatrist who disregarded everything I said and would continuously tell me that it's the point I'm at in life, or previous diagnosis, things like autism, which I'm known to have. And so what she actually did was she put off everything that I told her, and I told her I didn't want to be given any more mood regulators or anything because they don't work on me. Every time I said that to her, she continued to try to get me to take mood regulators, some of which I'd already had and had already disclosed to her the dangerous effects that they had on me. Then, after I started to say, I feel like this isn't going anywhere, she insulted me, called me unremarkable, said I was generic, like anyone else, you can find me anywhere, and actually made me start crying in her office. So I stormed out and left because she was absolutely horrible to me. And that's the first time, well, not the first, but the first time I've ever very explicitly faced abuse from medical staff, sorry. And I was absolutely gobsmacked, because that was supposed to be the start of the answers, yet instead it just put me back at square one. So now, what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about public versus private healthcare, because I feel it's an important thing to say, given that I'm a UK resident and we have free public healthcare. Now, in the UK, there are two... Oh, my bra strap's twitching at my neck. There are 2 main healthcare providers, those being the NHS and Bupa. The NHS is public, whereas Bupa is private. Now, in the UK, less land means more expensive, which makes sense, but given cost of living as well, everything shoots up. Our wages are nearly half of what America earns, and our gas and electricity and the like are nearly double of what America is, using the USA as a global West example. Now, healthcare, I've learned, is very stigmatized, not because it's public versus private, but because of how you're getting it. So it seems to be the belief that if you're paying a private physician or psychologist or anything, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear, whereas public they're not. I argue that at every corner because I've been faced a lot in the public healthcare system, to the extent where I've had practitioners, general practitioners, GPs, get up from their seat and walk out the room and not return in appointments. I've been called things like basket case by a GP, not my GP now, but a GP. And I've been put off continuously until I've had to force my way into the solution. Like when I had appendicitis, for example, I was on the phone talking to them. They said, maybe you should come in, we'll check you. And then later they said, actually, no, you know what, stay at home, you'll probably just have a stomach ache. I then went in because the pain was so bad, and lo and behold, I needed to have an appendectomy, to have it removed. Now, I'm not saying public healthcare is like this everywhere, because it's not, right? I've had some very, very helpful physicians, practitioners, psychologists in public healthcare. Very, very helpful. But the stigma of public goods, private bad, just isn't true. Sometimes private healthcare is the only way you can get the answers, which is how I sort of feel at the minute with my diagnostic situation up here, because I've fought for it for so long, and when I finally nearly had it, I was blocked off, stonewalled completely, told that I was being dramatic. I was told that it's just autism, just anxiety. Then when I said it's neither of those, because if it was, I've lived with that my entire life, and if it was either of them, I would have been aware, because, very bold claim, but someone with the disorder probably knows what it feels like to have the disorder. But I was experiencing something very different. And when I said that to the person I was seeing, they then called me psychotic and said that I needed more drugs. And that was very, very unhelpful and very insulting as well to me. Now, as for private healthcare, I feel a big benefit is that you can see a specialist in fields of medical. For example, while a general practitioner will have experience in, general diseases and conditions, things like depression, colds, stomach bugs, skin diseases, etc. You can specify more with private. For example, if I had a stomach bug and I wanted to see someone who specialises in, let's say, cholera, because I thought it was cholera, I could do that. Now, the downside is that, in the UK at least, private practitioners can demand their own price, which, I get it, everybody needs to be paid, and at the end of the day, that's true. But when I was looking at a psychiatrist that specialised in personality disorders and more high-end psychiatric disorders, they were asking a starting price of £625. Now that, for one appointment, is way too high. And I'm probably going to get some people in the comments from countries like America and other countries that have private healthcare as the predominant system, the predominant way, saying, oh, that's not that bad, my medical bill was 1,200. But bear in mind, in the UK, healthcare generally is free, right? Because in the UK, we historically have a lot of problems, like our problem with alcoholism was because alcohol is safer to drink than the water, because the water was diseased for a very, very long time. See? So we needed the public free healthcare because of things like that. Now, it's very, like, it's not really a thing so much here, but if you're looking for an answer, or if you need that answer, like I did, you're going to go to those options. And what are those options if they're not affordable? They're nothing. Because, well, you can't afford it. And then that's why, you know, you see on the news all the time, things like mentally ill man attacks people on London Bridge, or person with undiagnosed XYZs. I'm not going to name any specific disorders because I don't want to upset anyone potentially who has it, or has them. Man with undiagnosed XYZ's disorder, I don't know, cuts off entire family and starts double life due to feeling like no one's listening, because they're not. You can't get far if you don't listen to the patient's problem. But likewise, the patients can't get far if they don't have any options. And if the option is pay like your entire paycheck for the next 2 months, or, you know, don't get seen, it becomes hopeless, a losing battle, if you will. Now, moving on to medication, every time I've been through so far, I've been told a different drug. The first one I had was sertraline, which shot me into overdrive and nearly gave me serotonin syndrome, which is a very dangerous condition. Literally so happy you can die. The second one was fluoxetine, which I've already said, kept me awake for 72 hours, made me unable to sleep, sweat a lot, and made me threaten lots of people. And the third one was metrazapine, which I only took one, granted. Most people would say it takes a few to work. I can accept that. When I took the one, though, I woke up, my mouth was full of ulcers, and I felt so low to the point of, you know, considering doing very, very bad things to myself. Both of which were severe side effects, both of which meant I had to stop taking them. And when I went to be consulted by the psychiatrist last week, I was told to take the drugs I'd already been taking, in spite of me saying why I don't want to take any more mood-regulating drugs, and was completely ignored. But it seems like prescribing things like antidepressants are like the go-to methods when it's public. And I get it. Some people, it saves their lives. Okay, fair enough. I am not one of those people. It worsened me quite a lot. But again, it's a matter of listening to what the patient is saying, because ultimately, they're not a professional. Everybody gets that. But if you don't listen to the patient's concerns and problems, you as a professional cannot get an outcome, cannot make a diagnosis. Private, I've heard, also, of course, prescribe such drugs. Any qualified practitioner does. But like I said again, being able to specify gives you much more of an insight into the area you're studying. So, whereas someone might feel they're just going to have drugs thrown at them public, while private, they might feel like there's a much higher chance of not having drugs just thrown at them and actually getting a diagnosis of whatever they're experiencing. Those are the 2 points that I make, or like to make, about the private versus public healthcare, or public versus private, healthcare dynamic. Both have benefits, it's just one is more economical and one is more practical. but they can't be put together. It's the annoying thing, because, well, if the private was put with the private wouldn't make any money, and if the public was put with the private, then public practitioners would be put out of jobs by the private ones. So they have this like split double system, where neither of which is winning. And that's what's causing people like myself and other people as well. I know other people experience such things. It's what are causing us more difficulty, because we feel like there's a lack of options, and that lack of options is starting to create a sense of sort of dread, in a way. I personally on that, I think there's no point ever losing hope, because the second you lose hope, you admit defeat, right? Which not only no one wants to admit defeat, but admitting defeat means you're never going to get the help you need. It means you're never going to be seen. It means you're going to lose support, and it means you're more likely to self-destruct. Bad, 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 and bad, in other words. That being said, moving onwards, I am still going to press through the system, and I am still going to fight for an actual consultation on what's might be causing all this, as well as opt for a different practitioner to see me this time, because I feel it's not very fair that people in these positions are able to sort of block what the person they're seeing is saying to them. Now, the other thing is, when you are seeing a healthcare professional, always lead with what you think, right? Say exactly what you want and what you think. I feel that was one of my own mistakes, personally. I went into my meeting talking about what I was experiencing and all that, and they said, started saying, you're anxious, you're depressed, it's autism, and then called me psychotic, where I said it wasn't. I should have got in and said, I think I may be experiencing some sort of drastic moods disorder or personality disorder due to how negatively my personality has changed since hitting 16 years of age, or something along those lines. Because if I said that from the start, that would have been a lead, and if that lead was there, then we would have actually been able to, explore that, instead of have that sort of lack of control and make it feel more like an environment where there's a victim and a bully than a patient and a doctor. That's everything, though. That's all I wanted to say. I just thought it was important, given a lot of my audience are much younger than me as well. I'm 20. I know a lot of you are from the age ranges of like 14 upwards. I regret not knowing when I was a teenager, like, to actually say what you mean. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't expect them to know, because nobody's psychic, and ultimately they don't just know from walking in. Doctors aren't magic. You do have to work with them instead of you leading them or them leading you. You have to have that balance, and you can't have that balance if you don't say first what you actually think you're experiencing. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for this video. Take what I said literally, or don't. I can't make anybody do it. I just think it's important that everyone knows.